And we were leaving Quebec City, the old city. I'm not touring and heading back for the hotel. This is Friday night and preparing for our concert the next night. I guess it was getting close to the time, Mr. Manginelli.
Well, we had a rehearsal Friday morning, and then we had the tour in the afternoon. We had to relax a little bit Friday evening to get ready for the concert, because Saturday afternoon we had a rehearsal at the concert hall. And this was the final preparation for our concert. And the initial shock of the theater, the inside of the theater, see, the students hadn't seen the theater until Saturday afternoon. And the initial shock of seeing the theater was quite an experience. So the rehearsal that we had in the afternoon was very necessary.
And coming up, we have another interview. This one done by Ted Nannis and Bev Kakansi.
We have Teddy and Bev here this time. Ted, could you tell us how it feels to get away from home for a weekend?
It's a big change. Well, first of all, I'm missing a lot of responsibilities I have to do around the house. At least here, no responsibilities.
Today, we stopped at the concert hall for an unscheduled stop just to straighten out a couple of things. And we didn't get to see the inside of it, but we saw parts of it. Bev, what do you think of the place?
It's really nice. It's modern. It holds 1,600 people, and I've heard we sold 1,400 already, so it'll be a really nice crowd. It'll be nice to play in front of so many people.
Were you surprised at the size of the place?
Oh yeah, I thought it would be older and smaller, but it's really nice. It's modern.
We were coming back to the hotel again. We'll be seeing the forms of recreation we had there. One was a pool, and I knew that there was going to be a pool there before we left, but I thought it was just going to be a small little one. Were you surprised at the size of it, Jackie?
Oh yeah, it was really nice. It was a nice heated pool and a sauna and relaxing. It was
Here we are.
Yeah.
In the pool.
Got a couple of dunkings there.
Yeah, right. Had fun.
Right inside the pool, they had sauna baths also.
Yeah, I think we'll see that.
Manginelli bribed someone to dunk someone.
Well, we had Mrs. Weaver thrown into the pool.
That was part of our recreation.
That was the recreation.
That was after he had been dunked, Carla.
No, I was behind the glass watching from
My scar saved me.
Oh, that's right.
My operation.
There we see many of the students enjoying the pool, as we did spend a good many hours there. I'd say we were there about two or three times. It was something nice to do, like before dinner.
It was relaxing.
Yeah, we had an hour to kill or something. It was very fun.
All the kids were tense about the concert. It really helped them, I think.
Yeah, it was a good place to just let loose. And coming up, I think this is a student coming out of the sauna, for those who used to enjoy it. Mr. Manginelli, could you give us some detail on how this whole trip got started and how it was planned?
Well, the original idea, the preface was set in 1970 when a former band director took the band to Canada. And we had some of the plans already made, like what hotel to use. We didn't get the Grand Theater. I had to make a few calls to the Canadian consulate and the hotel and tried to set up a theater date with us at the Old City. So we started the plans actually last year in June. Carl Serio, Cliff Stratt, Leonard Bernstein played a major role in planning the trip, and Carl did most of the paperwork for the students and the parents, sending letters home, typing them up. Cliff and Leonard did a lot of footwork, and we were all instrumental with the phone. It took a lot of work, and also toward the end, everyone in the band had their part to do too. We had to raise money. We had lots of fundraisers, the kind of fundraisers where you could raise money if you had the initiative. We had a journal that we placed ads in, and everyone in the band had the opportunity to sell at least $120 worth of ads. So the initiative was there, and the incentive was there. The student was on the trip, and we have 65 in the band, and we had 55 on the trip.
I know that was a good percentage, and I personally sold all my trip through ads. How did you do, Jackie?
I did pretty well. I had a little bit left over, but for the most part, I got all the money up. Everybody was very good about that. They really tried hard.
We also had a few students who made extra money and gave to other people. I think you did, Joe.
Yeah, I know. I made about $100 extra.
No, we neglected to mention that champagne party that we had.
That's right. We
Tremendous,
did, right. Well, that was after the concert.
After the concert,
We have a part coming up now about a rehearsal at the Grand Theater, and then after the rehearsal, we had the concert. And after the concert, a member of the Canadian consulate, the American ambassador, was there, Mr. Corcoran from the United States, and he greeted us and gave us a champagne buffet after the concert, which was very, very nice.
And coming up, you'll see Mr. Hill. Part of also, I would say, the recreation there. I'd have to say it was entertaining.
show.
Good evening, mesdames and messieurs. Welcome to Canada. Tonight we are giving the concert at the Grand Hotel. Oh, I'm sorry, not the Grand Hotel, the Grand Theater. It will be a grand concert.
Coming up, we will see the practice Saturday afternoon that we had at the Grand Theater. Do you think it was a successful practice, Mr. Manginelli?
Well, as I said before, the initial shock from the theater was so big. The students needed this rehearsal at the theater, at the place where they were performing, because it was a new place, the new acoustics. We had to feel out the crescendos. We had to know how loud we could be, how soft we could play. If we played too soft, if the music would get lost. We had to find out what dynamic levels were appropriate with people and without people in the audience. So the rehearsal was one of the most important things we did on the trip.
Mr. DeCosmo, I know Mr. Manginelli was up there directing and Jackie and I were playing. I was just wondering, you were sitting out there, and also you were sitting out there at our high school, at our concert at the high school. I was wondering, what was the difference in the acoustics and the sounds?
Well, the acoustics, of course, at the Grand Theater were a little better than the high school, I think. Although the high school, the problem with the high school is the fact that you have all the curtains and the sound doesn't come out into the auditorium. It gets lost underneath there. But at the Grand Theater, it all comes out. Actually, you filled the Grand Theater. The sound of the band filled the Grand Theater.
And coming up, I believe we'll see the actual concert as it was taking place. One song of it.
A bit out of the ordinary for a symphonic band. We're going to play sections of music from 10 different countries, displaying music with different sections in the symphonic band. When the sections display the kind of music from each country, they will stand up.
Charlie, I'd like to ask you a question. After this, in my opinion, most successful trip, could you tell us what the future holds for the Fort Lee High School Band?
Well, it can hold a couple of things, but most importantly, we'd like to think that we could, we know we can go on trips successfully now. We know we can handle any problems that arise. And as you said, the trip was very successful. Next year we plan, we don't know yet, definitely, we'd like to plan to go to Florida, Disney World, play a concert at Disney World and tour Disney World 4 days, the same length of time. We don't know what the transportation will be like, plane, bus, train, but we're working on that right now.
Hitchhike?
No.
Taxi.
But we're working on that right now, and hopefully by midsummer we'll know exactly where we're going to go and how we'll get there and what the price will be so that the students can work on it starting in September on the money that they'll have to earn. And we'll have the Journal again to fund the band's trip, and maybe we'll have an organization sponsor the trip this year. We're just working on that, though.
That would really be good, I know. I'd like to say in closing, there are a few people I'd like to thank, starting off with the chaperones. They were Mr. Foster, Mrs. Russo, Mr. Hill, Miss Weaver, and Mr. DeCosmo and Mr. Manginelli. I really thought without them, the trip couldn't have really been possible. They were really excellent. There was some problems, but you have to expect that on any trip. I'd really like to thank them. I'd also like to express our thanks to the cameraman, Tim Conlon, who really made this film possible. And I also understand that in contributing to the trip, that Carl Sirio, Cliff Stratt, and Leonard Bernstein really gave a giant effort and really helped to get this band started. I'd also like to thank the students who played in the band, who all got the money up and was able to go. And I'd also like to thank especially Leonard Bernstein, who's really put this whole film together and really worked on this. And also,
of course, we'd like to thank Joe for narrating this whole show.
Oh, thank you. And thank you, Jackie. I'd also like to thank the three of you for coming along and helping me out with this. I'd also like to thank VCTV, Cable TV, for the cooperation and the use of their studio and equipment. And I'd like to take you back to Leonard Bernstein, our producer and director.
Thanks a lot, Joe. We have to really thank Joe for helping us out. Without him, this couldn't have been done. And I'd like to thank you, Joe, for thanking me. Okay, now you're watching some of the footage we took just before we left. You see Neil Plotkin over there. And at this point in the trip, everyone was on the verge of exhaustion. We proved that by sleeping on the bus. And this was our last chance to talk to and meet a couple of guys who we really liked. These guys were our bus drivers, Mel and Phil. It was an unbelievable phenomenon how these guys got so close to us, closer than, let's say, an average bus driver. They cared about us. And there's one, there's Phil, and everyone unanimously agreed that they were really great to us. Here's what they had to say as we left.
So what's ready to take another one? Hi, Tim.
All right, here we have the two bus drivers, Mel and Phil. Mel? Okay. All right. Okay, Mel, how do you account for your great acclaim among all the band members here?
You're a pretty nice bunch of kids, as a whole. That makes me like you and you like me.
That's right. Phil, what do you think of us?
really dynamite group. Really, really dynamite. They compose themselves as gentlemen and ladies.
Okay, and we would like to thank you for driving our buses so admirably.
Finally, what are we doing out nowhere, Phil?
Well, the answer to that question, Joe, is the following. We had a little adventure on the way back from Canada. About an hour and a half out of Quebec, a police car approached us in the second bus, and we figured he had ideas about pulling us over. Well, he passed us right by and proceeded to pull over the first bus, Phil's bus. When we, in the second bus, pulled over and learned what happened, it turned out that some percussion equipment had been left at the concert hall, and they offered to take it down to us by cab, and we'd have to pay a nominal fee. So we had about an hour to kill, and we sat down, and we played baseball in a cow field right near the road. There you see slugger Mr. Mancinelli slamming that tennis ball. It was a makeshift baseball game. There's Phil, Golden Glove Phil, pitching to Joe Neiman. But after an hour, the cab arrived, and after a little quarrel about the fee to be paid, we finally were on the way again. One more try, Joe. Well, we missed that try. You know, this all started back in September when we all gathered at the high school to start out on our year of music. Here you see the part of marching season. And there are a couple of people who were indispensable. Without them, we couldn't have done this at all. You're now watching Mr. Vic Fiorino, the AV coordinator at the high school. He is one of the best, if not the best, instructor in the high school. He's very amiable, and he just loves to work with kids. He's got great determination. He supplied me with confidence, equipment, and the will to see this through. Mr. Fiorino will not be forgotten by me and by many others in the high school. There were others who were indispensable to the completion of this tape and also the trip itself. You're now watching Clifford Stratt and Carl Sirio. That's Cliff with the book over there. And there you see Carl in the picture. These two feverishly worked on the trip. They helped plan the itinerary, make the calls up to Canada, help Mr. Mancinelli along with myself, but mainly both of them. I could even say especially Carl, but we all helped. This trip, without all these people, the trip would not have gotten off the ground. So a special thank you goes to them. In closing, I'd like to just thank everyone who helped out, both in getting the trip together and also in helping me get the film together. Tim Conlon was a lot of help. Everyone was. And I just hope that the future will hold bright things for the band. Some people thought that involvement with television and putting all this time into it was perhaps goofing off, but I think that every minute I put into this was worth it. Thank you very much.